Welcome to Judge My Round with Tom Brennan. Reagan, I've received your video submission and I'm about to watch your video for the very first time and give you my impressions as if I were judging the class. All I know is it's a junior hunter round and it's a handy, so those videos usually start out pretty quickly heading to the first jump. Let's take a look. My first impressions right off the bat is just a great presentation of a horse. It's a really attractive horse. I love the uphill carriage that's really appropriate for the division. Nice first jump. I'm assuming we went directly to it. Jump 2 was good. A little bit of a move at 3, but still nice. For a handy, it looks like we're going pretty wide here. But maybe the course asked for a long approach or a gallop. Nice ride to 4. Really hard rub there behind. You could actually hear the rail bounce. That's going to definitely make it onto my card here. I love the expression of this horse. Horse and rider both turned out well, and he looks eager and helpful. Nice quality look for a junior hunter. Great through the 2 stride, right out of stride, really straight, making the jumps match. Nice trot jump. I appreciate the horse and rider coming down to the trot a little bit late in the approach. And then they probably headed right out of the ring there because it was a handy. So for me, judging that, junior hunters can vary widely in terms of scoring. Each class can be inconsistent, so it really depends on how all the other horses did. I know at Sonoma they like to give a numerical score. I've judged there before. So I think that would fall somewhere between a 73 and a 77 or 78, depending on the rest of the class. And we'll talk about why that is and how we can improve that score a little bit in the next section. So Reagan, now that I've had a chance to watch your video through the first time, let's go back and have another look and break it down a little bit to see what went well and what can be done a little bit better to improve the outcome. Now, right off the bat, you had a good, strong canter all the way to the first jump, and that's great to see. I like it when a rider comes in and makes it look like they're all warmed up and ready to perform, and there's no hesitation or trepidation about getting to that first jump. And that's especially true in the handy. Now, from jump 1 to jump 2, you're efficient, but I certainly wouldn't call it aggressively handy. You're not showing off a great ability to turn quickly. However, it is smooth, and jump 2 from this vantage point looks great. Now this is tricky because you're jumping into a line that is related to the 2 stride, and your horse does seem to get his eye on the 2 stride, which is really him being a good horse, and you have to pull him out of the line to go to jump 3. If we go back and look at that in real time, you'll see it a little better. Now that's a question the course designer has put in front of you, and you certainly did the job, but it could be smoother. You could communicate that to your horse a little better, and maybe if we had been tidier to jump 2 and almost jumped across it from right to left, then he never would have gotten his eye on the 2 stride because you could have turned inside that rainbow love jump to fence number 3, and that would have been much handier and probably smoother. As I mentioned in the first section, we seem to go very wide here to fence 4, but that being said, it's a beautiful presentation of your horse, and it really shows off his expression that I love. And he starts to jump the jump very well in front, but as he comes down behind to land, you can see those hind legs really trail, and they actually hit the rail so hard that we can hear it bounce. And from the judge's booth in that ring, I'm guessing they had a really good view of it as well. On this video, from this point of view, that's really the major determining factor for me as to why I can't score this round in the 80s, because I like everything else about this presentation. It's a totally appropriate horse, real quality, and it's getting a nice forward ride. Sure, there are places we can be handier, but I'm liking it. There's just a major mistake that I can't ignore. Now, here in this turn, you ride a little past your distance, but he's so good about measuring and helping you out that I don't really mind it. Nice forward gallop up to the oxer. This is where I think you're getting some bonus points. I'm loving the pace. The second half of this course matches that first jump that I liked to get started. The two stride from here again is excellent. And this is something that I really liked to see, and the junior riders tend to be so good at it. You really come down to a true trot, but you do it late in the approach, and I think that speaks to handiness. To me, that's the most handy part of your round today. So to wrap it up a bit, there are places you could be handier and in fact smoother. For sure, the biggest demerit came from the severe hind rub. But overall, I think it's a quality pair and a competitive division, and I would like to see more from this horse and rider, because I think they're capable of even better performances than this one. Reagan, you also had the chance to send in a few questions with your video, and your first one asked how I would score the round because you felt your score was a little bit lower than you hoped for. So I think I've already covered that in the video, but I will take a minute to remind you as an exhibitor and as a participant in our sport that scoring is very relative to the other participants in that specific class that day. So while I might see a round one day and call it an 80, the very same round might be a 77 or an 82, depending on the other people that have competed that day, so that I can put you in the right slot, meaning second, third, fifth, etc. The number is just something the judge uses to keep a placing. That placing is the most important part. That's the judge's job, to tell you who the winner is that day. So don't get hung up on the numeric value of the score, but try to focus on where you're placing in the class and how you can be more competitive to place higher more consistently. Your second question asked if posting or sitting to a trot jump is preferred, and can one of those be penalized? In the handy, I don't have a preference for a rider to post or to trot the trot jump. What is preferred to me is the smoothest and best presentation of a trot jump that you can get from your horse. Some horses seem more comfortable posting, while the others seem more comfortable with a rider who is sitting. So take whatever risk you need to in terms of a judge's preference to prioritize your horse being relaxed and performing his best. That's what any judge is going to prefer. And no, I wouldn't penalize either a sitting trot or a posting trot to a trot jump. Again, I'm just looking for ways to give points as often as possible. I want a smooth trot jump where the horse truly trots to the jump and jumps a nice round jump with a good gallop afterwards. Finally, your last question asks how much handiness in a round actually factors into the overall score of that round. So going back to that idea of my job being to place the riders in the correct order, I'm going to take it into consideration quite a bit for the handy class. It's the only jumping class in a hunter division that has a different criteria from the rest of the section. So that's the sport telling you we value handiness. And the history of the handy hunter comes from a horse who could go to ground, is what they called it. And that means follow the hounds and get through tough areas and turn quickly with transitions and be rideable in tough situations. That's why we value it in our sport. So I'm definitely looking for a handy round in the handy round of the division. That being said, when you take risks of handiness, it really pays off if it goes well. If we make mistakes, then it can really hurt us because they're usually amplified by the handiness. Reagan, I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope you found it useful. I really appreciate you sending in your submission, and thank you for the opportunity to judge your round.